Gentlemen, let's get into this Satya Nadella interview that kind of shook the pillars of heaven. If you're a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China, you know what I'm talking about. I have a story here written by the great Jez Corden of Windows Central. And of course, I have already added this to the show notes. If you want to give it a read and give Jez a click on his article, you should do that. He goes on to say, gentlemen in chat, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella is, quote, looking forward to the next Xbox. And he goes on to say, and again, this is another quote from Satya, we want to do innovative work on the system side on both console and PC. Now, Jez, I'm going to read it from the article verbatim, folks. Jez goes on to say, in a new interview, Microsoft CEO offered some rare comments on Xbox's gaming strategy, talking up the new console and mussing on the death of Xbox exclusives. So he goes on to say, Xbox isn't going anywhere for now, at least. Of course, that's Jez Corden. Microsoft's gaming division has had a difficult few months. Competition from other forms of entertainment, tariffs, and the Trump administration, mass layoffs, and a sprint of strategy changes have stressed the Xbox brand. Sony's PS5, though, smashed the Xbox in global sales, forcing Xbox to put its flagship franchises, Halo, onto its arch nemesis platform. And look, here's the thing, folks. There are a couple of really key points that I want to read literally from what Satya had to say. Now, it is a little bit of corporate speak, folks. He is the head of a corporation, so that, of course, is how he's going to move. This is not a surprise. But I'm just going to say this up front. I know that Xbox isn't going anywhere. And I think most people on the panel here, I'd say everybody on the panel here, but most people in the chat know that that is a reality. Regardless of what the trolls are trying to sell you or what journals are trying to get clicks on their articles that they're writing, Xbox as a platform isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's a division of Microsoft that's making as much money as Windows, ladies and gentlemen. They're not selling it off. They're not killing the brand. And if there's one thing, and I'm being honest here, folks, it's not me towing the line for the corporation. This is me just reading the room. If you listened and read what Satya said, and we're going to read some of that live on the air here tonight, folks, the Xbox brand is as important to Microsoft as Windows is. With that said, if you read anything that says Xbox is going away and that they're going to sell off the brand because they're not making as much money as they used to because people are playing on Game Pass and people are this, that, and the third, walk away with the fact that Satya is talking about the next generation console. That is now Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, and the freaking CEO of Microsoft talking about next generation. So if there were any doubts, the first three people I mentioned, you had any doubts that they were lying, well, Satya can't, because what he says publicly moves the stock, a publicly traded stock, ladies and gentlemen. So he's not going to lie. So I've seen some things, won't mention names here. Some journals have been ridiculous, but here is what he had to say that set off a lot of bells and whistles for people who are, of course, panic engaging. Satya says, you got to remember, Flight Simulator was the first product Microsoft ever built. Even before, dev tools were first. Flight Simulator was second. Remember, the biggest gaming business is the Windows business. Steam has built a massive marketplace on top of it and has done a very successful job. The way we are thinking about gaming, first of all, we are the largest publisher after the acquisition of Activision. We want to be a fantastic publisher, but we want to take a similar approach to do what we did with Office. We want to make sure wherever there's a console, PC or mobile or even cloud gaming, direct on the TV, We just want to make sure that games are being enjoyed by gamers everywhere. Simply put, folks, he wants to make sure, like Windows, that Xbox games are going to be anywhere that there's a screen. Now, Hargeet, I'm going to go to you first on this, brother. You obviously have a behind the scenes business mind that a lot of people don't have on YouTube, and you don't, panic engage, and you certainly don't make ridiculous comments. What we saw and what we read from this interview, though it was short and candid, I think for me as an Xbox fan, it proves that Xbox is here to stay. Now, these are just my personal thoughts before I hand the mic over to Hargeet. I honestly believe that when you hear Satya say that, yes, they want to be a great publisher. Well, in order to be a great publisher, you have to have great games, which they do. And they also have to continue to make these games to put on these other platforms, whether it be Windows, Nintendo, Switch 2, the PS5, or its own Xbox. In order to do that, you have to invest in your studios to make these games. So the idea that they're going to make 12-hour games across the board, because that's what the industry is saying they're doing, is wrong. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to continue to innovate. They're going to continue to invest. And I am going to add this is on the back end. And again, you can take it and run with the ball or not. When you hear him say that they are heavily investing in what they're doing with Xbox, specifically now and in the future, this is going to potentially open up for additional acquisitions of studios and other publishers, because they're going to need that content to put on every device that is willing to take these games. And that is, again, PlayStation, Nintendo, Windows, and its own Xbox. Let's get your thoughts on what Nadala had to say, brother.
Well, first, Xbox did.
Yep, of course. Hey, Paris Lily, what's going on, brother? There he is.
But all kidding aside, look, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, it's always going to be the same narrative. The industry, for some reason, just can't stand that Xbox exists.
Yes.
And so they will just constantly be negative, whatever. I was in in our podcast with Fonz, and in the chat, I just kept seeing all the PlayStation type fans saying, Nadella had this interview. He didn't even mention Xbox. Xbox dead. I'm so I literally brought up Jez's article and said, right there, it says consoles and PC. Is he making Nintendo consoles? I'm guessing. It's just a guess here. You might be maybe he's talking about Xbox consoles. No. I guess he's making PlayStation consoles. The whole thing, just somehow they just have to read into it in some weird ass way. And I don't understand. It's clear as day. Console and PC. Console, but no, it's not clear. The messaging apparently isn't clear. I don't know how these things get twisted into pretzels, but they do. For some reason, it's always the same. And they just cannot wait to not have Xbox. I don't know what's going on. It's if you don't like Xbox, you know what? You don't have to buy it. Newsflash, you don't have to buy it. Nobody's putting a gun to your head to say you have to buy it. No, nobody's saying you have to. You can just skip it. It's okay. I don't own a PlayStation. Am I dead? No. Am I not able to play games? No. I'm totally fine. It's okay. PlayStation people, just skip it. If you don't like Xbox, fine, skip it. But from their perspective, they're trying to be in the market. As it is, and he's now making the statement that if it wasn't obvious, they're the biggest game publisher. They're here, and they're not going anywhere. It's just not happening. You really think they're going to shut down the biggest game publishing arm that beats Windows? You think that's going to happen? Okay. Whatever. Seriously, at some point, you might want to stop smoking that stuff. Like, what is going on with these people? Like, come on. Oh, they didn't sell as many consoles. They sold consoles.
Yeah.
You can be the McDonald's. It's fine. They don't have to be McDonald's. It's okay. Enjoy your Big Mac. Whatever, guys. I don't know how this becomes such a problem. As far as your thoughts on acquisitions, I mean, the wording is kind of there, isn't it?
I mean, I'm not reading into it. I'm just what I wanted to do. I said it, and I knew that you were gonna respond to it. But if you just read what he says about putting these games on every screen, they want Xbox to be Windows, right? What does that mean? That means every computer this side of Texas, across the planet, has Windows. They want Xbox to be the same thing. Now, so a lot of people are upset about that because they're not in their little tight, console war conversations. But you see, that's the thing. In order to do that, Hargeet, they have to continue to invest in the brand. And how they do that is curate who they already have, fund who they already have, but who they don't, go buy.
And remember, the big thing that they're looking for is what? That massive, profit target, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to look at the industry to say, where should you go to increase that profit margin, there are a couple of places that make sense.
Yep.
And that's kind of where they should look. And I see some people saying WV. I don't know about that.
Paramount might have something to say about that.
That's a landmine you don't want to step on.
I don't think they want to go there.
No.
Hasn't Paramount already put a ring on it at this point?
They're bidding. Yeah.
It's pretty close.
And we'll see if the Paramount thing happens, because that might make them too big. But who cares? That's not my problem here, right? So, if I were to look at what makes the most sense, if I'm from a profitability and kind of taking what they need to do next, it's Valve. It's Valve, and the reason is simple. You get the store that people use on PC. You're trying to merge the two environments together, and like, you want that full 100%, and everybody's putting their games on what?
Steam.
On Steam.
Yeah.
So it's privately held by Gabe. You offer him enough billies, and you say, that's mine now.
But just the one piece that I think is the real kicker here is how you just literally said what he said. They want to merge console and PC. They want to put together.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
And then you take Game Pass and say, oh, what's the store that we're putting Game Pass on? Oh, it's Steam.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. Is that a powerhouse? Yep. So look, I like, if that was an option, and I think it is, and everybody might think, oh no, that would never happen. Enough billies come up in the numbers, and they're like, oh, that happens. At some point, anybody can be given enough cash to say, okay, I'll walk away.
They paid 70 plus billion for Activision.
Exactly. It won't cost that much for this.
It'd probably be around
anywhere
100
near
billion.
that.
Yeah.
So, and so if they they offer enough, to me, that's like the obvious one, because it's literally a cash cow, right?
Yeah.
And some of the top games being played on PC right now are still Valve games. It's CS:GO 2 and Dota and games like that. That and I think neither of those has even come to console yet. But you have those two games just topping the charts on Steam like consistently. So like you get those games, and Valve has a vast, awesome catalog. When they put out a game, it's usually really good. They have another one coming out soon, right? That's apparently play tested really well. I can't remember the name of it, but that's another one that's going to likely be a big hit. So that to me is the obvious get. So
Deadlock.
they have the game studios. Deadlock, that's
yes. Right. Yep.
And you get that store. You get these like world-class games that people play like all over the place. That's a great one to get. Outside of that, there's potential for something like a Take-Two.
Yep.
And that's because, again, it has the annual franchises. Not just GTA. GTA is big. Yes, that's great. But you have your NBA 2K, that kind of thing. Like they have those. And that's an awesome thing for a subscription service.
Yeah.
Because now you have a reason to stay. You have your annual game that keeps coming in. So that would be a good one. EA just got bought, right? So we can take that off the table. I don't know that there's really another one that kind of fits that bill.
No, it's just those two. Those are the two one. I would,
because again, I'm looking at high profit. Right? What's going to drive that profit? You know who drove high profit? ABK, right? Because ABK was consistently in that 20 to 25% range, right? And that was the Bobby Kotick effect. That's what he was doing. And that's why you see those performance targets is because Bobby Kotick was, like, this is what we can do. And they're like, wait, if you can do that, why can't we do that? So this is how we get to these performance targets, right? So, but the other ones, like I can totally see Valve. I can see them. That I'm sure they make a ton of money. They don't like spend as much because they take their time to get the games they want out. They get the game the way they want it. Right. And then they put it out. Right. So they don't have like a very high amount of games coming out. But when they put out a game, it's great. It's the store. It just drives so much revenue for them. So I can totally see that being a target. Again, this is all theoretical. They may buy nothing. They may, in fact, go buy things that help in the back end, that help in the development process that they can resell to other developers. Like, okay, it's not that you always bring up the Helldivers example. It's like Helldivers is a PlayStation game, but guess whose back end they're using?
Azure. Yeah.
Right. So they're using
guess
the
what?
Xbox
Guess what was down
kit.
when Azure went down this week?
Right.
Yeah.
So the Xbox development kit is what they use. The back end development kit is what they use for their back end. Right. And it's like, well, and they absolutely can keep selling that to whomever, and they just make money off of it. It's irrelevant to them. Like, go ahead, use it. And it just makes money for them. Those are the kind of things that are awesome, right? When you just get royalties because you just sell it back end, like, this is great. Right.
Free money.
So that's the kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So they want to keep doing that, right? You could look at a thing like Epic. That could be somewhat of a problem. It is the other store, right? The Epic store. But you would also own Unreal, which has kind of become one of the default engines. I don't know if that passes muster. I like regulators might get a little pissy about that. So I don't know. Even like Valve is kind of edging because of the amount of market share it has on PC as far as the game store. But at least that I think they'll be able to pull off.
Well, they could just
obviously
sell that they're putting games everywhere. Halo is on PlayStation. I mean,
yeah. So as far as the games, I'm not worried because they have proven now they are not locking games. They are absolutely putting their games. They've taken this game and put it on PlayStation. So that like whole entire argument's done, right? They will put every game everywhere. That's not a problem. I'm more concerned about market domination, right? Because it's Microsoft. They didn't even bat an eye when PlayStation buys anything. They don't care, even though they have this massive console lead. That doesn't matter, right? But when Xbox buys anything, what are you doing? So there will be scrutiny no matter what, right? So that's where you have to be kind of careful. So Epic could be, but I'm also not sure about that one. But if you had to pick between Epic Store or Steam, you know which one I'm picking.
It's got to be Steam. It's got to be Steam.
So,
it has to be. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's my thought on that one. As far as the console, the CEO has come out and said it.
Yeah.
The head of gaming has come out and said it. Sarah Bond has come out and said it. But apparently that's not enough. They're all lying.
Yeah, they're all lying.
Financial update. I don't know how much more they need to tell you that they're doing this. So whatever, right? Like AMD has come out and said like, it just doesn't seem to matter. There's just so much of this negative thing that somehow it has to be true that Xbox dead. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. I guess once the console comes out, they'll say, no, it doesn't exist. You can't buy it. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't. No, it's you're lying. You can't buy it. Like, but it's right here though. No. Okay. Whatever.
We joke, right? We sit here and we laugh. We're having a conversation. We've look, folks, if there's one thing, let's say, for instance, you're finding this channel for the first time this evening, and you're like, who is this BoomStick guy? This 55-year-old guy with a mohawk. Oh, that's me. But what I will tell you is that I do a ridiculous amount of reading, writing on a daily basis to make sure that when I'm here and I'm talking about what we're talking about, it's well rehearsed, written, and explained, not only for myself, but to every guest. And of course, we then translate that into a podcast. I'm all about that evidence-based conversation because, again, we are allowed to have our opinions, and most of them we will never always agree, and that's fine. But it's hard to argue the written fact, right? If we have documentation that says a certain thing, and it's something that someone said, like what I'm about to read for Kay Asante, and lead up into get his thoughts on this. Kay, I have an article here. This dates all the way back to 2023 during a podcast that Satya Nadella did. And here's his statement. This is 2 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago. He says, Microsoft, and this is again, Satya Nadella, and I quote, Microsoft will double down on gaming publishing and development. And this was a context that was made while he was talking about expanding Microsoft's gaming division. And there are two key points, Kay, that he mentioned during this podcast and interview, very similar to what he did just the other day. He said that Microsoft was going to quote increased focus. The quote signifies a commitment to significantly increasing investment and focus on Microsoft gaming operations, which include publishing and development efforts. But that wasn't the only piece there. What he said on the back end of this is strategic importance. And Satya Nadella points out that gaming as a key area for Microsoft's future, likely to be driven by a growing social media influence of games and a desire to expand their content and reach across what? Multiple platforms. Literally what he said during this interview in just different language. So this is not a surprise, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said in the opening here, Kay, I think it's plain as day or as clear as day, whichever pun you want to use. They want Xbox to be like Windows. They want it on every possible screen that will take it. And how they're going to do it is buy Bethesda, which they've done, buy Activision, which is closed, and potentially something else big, whether that be Epic, whether that be Valve, whether that be Take-Two, whoever they're going to go after next, like Hargeet said, is going to be something that is driven by the number, which of course, I know that doesn't mean anything to us. We just want to play good games, but we're talking about a head of a corporation who made some pretty big statements. And I think the biggest one wasn't the investment, wasn't that they want Xbox like Windows. He mentioned how that he himself is excited for the next generation console. What that does is put to bed all of these troll chasing MFs that continue to say there's not going to be a next generation console when the head of Microsoft Gaming has now confirmed it. Let's get your thoughts, Matt.
When it comes to that specific thing, right? Like I call that shadow boxing. Why do I call that shadow boxing? Because you'll never win that argument. You'll never be able to go, see, look what happened. They did it now. You said they wouldn't. They did. Argument over. You'll never win it because the goalpost will be on their back and they'll walk halfway down the block and they'll put it down somewhere else, right?
Yep,
and that's just what will happen, right? But let's be absolutely clear here because I agree by and large with everything you guys have already said, right? But what I will add to it is those who say Xbox is dead aren't necessarily wrong in the way they think of it in the traditional sense. If you are a very traditionalist, if you are a you buy my box, you play my game kind of person, and that's the only way forward, yeah, your paradigm is completely shifted underneath your feet, right?
That's
Like
fair.
where you have been up until now is not where you're moving forward. There will be a different paradigm moving forward. Now, if you are not in agreement with said paradigm, and if you think it's bad or whatever, then to you, consoles are dead. Okay, good for you, right? For you, I would say if you have a question with whether it's a console or not, ask yourself if a PS3, a PS4, and an Xbox One was a console, because since 360 and PS3, all of them have been PCs. They all have had PC components. They've just hidden it from you. Just like Forever Physical has like you lost it back in those 360 gens when they started just giving you hex codes. You just didn't know it. You know what I mean? Like you lost it. They're just giving you frisbees that look good with nice logos on it. That's all they're giving you. They're not giving you games. But you don't know that, so it's fine, right? Same thing here, right? The idea of a console that you would know and that you remember when you were 10, when you were blowing on the freaking control a cartridge, that is gone now. It is, right? When you were wrapping towels around your heat sinks to make sure the thing doesn't all gone.
We all did that.
People in the chat even know about the blowing on your console like cartridge things. Because I remember all that crap.
Sure.
Contacts wouldn't
the gray
work.
beards are here.
Yeah, and then you had to like make it actually work.
Yes.
Like this is old NES level crap from the 80s.
Exactly, right? But that doesn't mean that if you are a genuine individual whose requirement for gaming, right? If you're an individual who like, I want to play my games here, I want to play different versions of games, I want to have diversity in content, I want to have, all those requirements that are gamer requirements, I think will be not even met, but exceeded in just different ways that you, Graybeard, never thought possible. Right? You saw cloud gaming. You were like, oh, this is crap. Give them a couple months. Now, by the way, do you know that 1440p is a standard? I've played a bunch of games that's cloud game enabled. Yeah. 1440p 60 frames, and it's locked. So there's that, right? Satya saying what he's saying. The world we live in today is a problem because no one can say anything to anybody. Everything that anybody says becomes fodder for everybody. He wasn't talking to you. He wasn't talking to me, right? He doesn't know what a console is. He's a CEO. He's paid to know. He's paid to say the things that they need to say. He's not an engineer, right? The way he considers a console is the way you all consider consoles. The thing underneath your TV that you press a button and it plays. That will continue to exist. As you say, Boom, he's already said it. Right now, if you are a big console guy and your requirements are very particular and it's got to be first party and it's got to be this and it's got to be that, yeah, get ready for disappointment because they're going to upend what you know as the console market. You heard Phil talk about it. We've all talked about it, right? The most recent Sarah Bond interview, she hinted at it, right? Like they're just not going to do the standard fare anymore, right? And if you are about the ecosystem, you may not like that. But if you're about the games, I don't see how that's going to be a problem for you. Because all it is just more games in more places. That's what it is. More games in more places. That's what it is, right? Because in order for them to be everywhere, they need to make money from everywhere. There was another conversation, Boom, that you and other panel members that I was watching had about, the 30%, right? Remember the whole, they have to make for 30%. Two things. One, they hit 22% before, whereas PlayStation's highest was about 8 or 9. So when they talk about 30, it's because they're in spitting distance. And second, and more important to this conversation, the reason when they were having that whole 30% conversation, it was also said that in order to achieve that, it would equal some inorganic growth.
And what does that mean?
Inorganic growth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let's talk about inorganic growth. Organic growth would be, I have an idea. I put together a team. I work hard. I spend some time. I maybe come up with an engine or learn an engine. 10 years from now, I have a game. That's organic growth.
Mhm.
Inorganic growth, I got money, you're mine. Goodbye. Purchased. That is inorganic growth. That is what it is. We have money, they have stuff, we buy their stuff. That's inorganic growth. So, by and large, we're going to see these guys take another bite at the apple. Well, not that apple, the proverbial gaming developers apple. You know, I unlike Hargeet, I don't foresee them going for the jugular and trying to take the big bite, you know, like a Take-Two or something. Like, could they do it? Sure, they could. But I don't think American governmental corruption will last forever. I don't think they'll get away with it forever.
Well,
Somebody will go now.
Whatever they buy has to pass the world.
It has to
know.
be the world.
So
yes,
it's
I know.
Not, like
And
everybody seems to think it's just the FTC. Like the FTC.
No, but
went
that's my
crazy in the last
point.
Administration. That's
That's
fair.
my point.
But it has to pass
Now-
EU, has to pass UK,
Exactly.
Japan, all those places.
Yes, but that's exactly the point I'm making. Before, when they did it, yeah, it was tough, but they could get it in because, and pause on that, because they had at least the backing of America. Now America's not doing so well globally. So whether America says yes or no,
They didn't have the
will
backing
no
of America.
bearing. Well, back in the,
The
day,
only
look,
place
when
that had
the
a
whole
problem with
EU
it was America.
Yes. Well, but still, when like America had all the teeth, everyone else was supposedly like not as, except for the EU, right? Now, whether America says yay or nay will have no bearing on any of this whatsoever.
no, it's
I actually,
outside.
I
of
actually
the
would think, yeah, I actually would think the Americans saying yes would actually make it even harder because they all have a problem these days because of reasons, right? But that won't stop anything because at the end of the day, Hargeet made mention, and he's absolutely right? They have shown themselves that all the issues that were the noose around their necks before are not going to be the problems that they can use today and say, well, you said you would disenfranchise. There's no disenfranchising. Look at us. If it wasn't for us, Sony would have had the worst quarter last time. But they have been able to bypass that. Now, I do think, though, Hargeet, I don't know, man. Steam is kind of like Epic in that it is the store. Yes, there are many engines, but there is the engine, right? Even though there are other stores, this is the store. So especially the EU, they would have a problem with Steam going to Microsoft. A problem. Like they specifically. Could it still be done? I'm sure it could still be done. I'm sure there's moves and shaking that could happen. But that would be I think it would be like Call of Duty ABK levels of drama again.
Yeah, but I think they can pull it off, right? And they can. And look, this is where structures in the deals need to be made to say you can't decide to suddenly charge 70%.
Yep.
You know, so and this is where regulators come in, and that's their job. And you see how like the EU had stuff put in, and they're like, you know, we're good with the deal if you do these like 10 things, go do it, right? And they went and did it. They made the deals. That's fine. That's what you got to do, right? And you know, if they're gonna get locked in like this, sure. And thankfully, there are other stores, right? It's not very much just that. My problem with UE is
that's the fight they're going to make. Right? There's so many stores.
Everybody uses Unreal Engine, dude. Like
everybody, and now you're basically charging a tax to everybody, and it could be incremental changes, but it's like they could make deals and say, not that team, then I don't like them, so they're going to have to pay more, and that just makes it very tough, right? And it's the same thing with the store. That's fair, but they don't have to use that store. To change UE is a big deal. Right. Whereas to say I will only put it on Epic Store, totally fair. That's totally fine. You can do that. No problem. Right. You have that option. Whereas in this case, you're basically telling them you have to learn a whole new engine and go do the. It's like, I don't know. So that one's a bit more challenging to me. But either way, we will see what the regulators do if this even happens, right?
It's a big if. It's a big if.
It's a lot of hypotheticals for sure.
And I'm not even saying that one is easier than the other. To me, from what I can tell, it's probably the same level of difficulty.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's impossible.
Epic has
though.
a huge thing because it has Fortnite.
Yeah, dude.
And the Steam store makes Valve an impossible purchase for anyone that knows the PC market. Like they think that even though there's many stores, Epic has kind of clawed its way into the zeitgeist, but for a long time, nobody knew about any of the other stores. It was only Steam, right? And that makes it difficult for a Microsoft to buy them. That's tough. Doesn't mean
we'll see, right? I think both
Yeah.
of those are going to be a tough one, but I think Valve's a little easier, but we'll see. Also, I don't know who owns Epic at this point. I think they're kind of across.
They're a little bit here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas
even PlayStation has a piece. Yeah.
The ex-Microsoft millionaire.
Straight up Gabe. You don't even have to know what deal they made. You don't have to know what the money was. They don't have to tell you ish.
It's
Why?
Just Gabe.
Because
you just
Gabe wanted
the one dude.
He needed some money and some ice cream. They got him some ice cream. He was happy. He gave the building. He moved on.
You know what? People are asking in the chat, was there news about Microsoft buying someone else? No, folks. Please, we're not suggesting that there is
speculating.
This is speculating based on the conversation that Satya Nadella literally just had. What's interesting? He said an additional quote, and then we're gonna get close to getting everybody out of here because obviously I'm still under the weather, and it's just been one of those long weeks. During that TBPN interview that he did. He was directly asked, gentlemen in chat, the console wars are over now. What does this mean for Microsoft's gaming business model? And Satya, like a G, literally just said, we just want to make sure that the games are being enjoyed by gamers everywhere on consoles, PC, mobile, cloud, or your TV. I mean, look, again, This is why when you see people trolling for clicks and why they think that Xbox is dead. Look, I think really Kay Asante explained it perfectly. If you are an Xbox purist from the OG, buy the box, play the games on the box, and that's where you can play those games, then I guess you can say Xbox is dead because that Xbox doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed since they put the first 4 games on PlayStation. We know now that everything moving forward, including games like Halo Campaign Evolved, which again stung for a lot of people, is going to be on PlayStation. Is that a bad thing? Well, if you're an Xbox purist, of course it is. If you're upset about it, I was there at one point. Now I don't care because there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to leave the brand and go play on PlayStation. My PlayStation gets turned on 6 times a year. 3 times when I'm playing it, 3 times when I'm dusting. That's just what happens with the PlayStation 5. I'm sorry, I don't play it. I own one, and I will buy a game for it when there's a game I want to buy. But for the most part, I play on Xbox, and I really utilize Xbox Game Pass. And there's been a lot of really great games this year specifically. But look, I mean, there is not much more we can say. But I do want to, in closing, get the what the chat has to say and what the gentlemen on the panel have to say. I think that if you had any doubts that Xbox was going to go away, because I know I'm glad you brought it up about the whole 30% thing. The 30% thing was jarring. It was taken out of context, and it was like, okay, well, they're definitely going to sell off the brand because they're not making 30. Well, Kay Asante confirmed they made 22. And that 30% that Amy Hood, quote unquote, demanded wasn't going to be, not expected to be or come to fruition until 2030. You see, that little tidbit nugget was left out because that's uncool. It's the truth. So when you don't add that, it's like, oh my God, Phil Spencer is looking in the couch cushions for extra money because he's going to be out of a job.
And it's the whole division, not just like one studio. It's the whole division, including the CODs and everything. It's everything. 30%.
And the back end and all that stuff, right? When
and the back
end,
like it's everything.
Stuff, they make that money, right?
Yes.
So it all goes to the same
selling
bucket.
of PlayFab and all of that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.